Hello everyone and welcome in this lesson. Today our lesson is asynchronous lesson, and today we have lesson for grade 9. So let's start together. The lesson is about reading comprehension, but first let's have a look at the questions before you read the text. We have two types of questions in reading comprehension. We have the multiple choice questions and we have the productive questions. So let's start with the multiple choice questions. We have many types in multiple choice questions. So let's start with the first one is the best title or the main idea. How can you identify the best title or the main idea? You can find the best title in the introduction sentence in the text, or maybe in the conclusion sentence, or maybe you have to identify the most word was repeated in the passage and try to find the main idea about this word. We have a question, multiple choice question about vocabulary, the underlined word. Maybe he will ask you about the synonyms, the closest meaning to the word. Maybe he will ask you about the antonyms, the opposite meaning to the word, or maybe he will ask you about the definition, the meaning of the word. Number 3, negative factual information. What does that mean? He may give you 4 statements. All of them are true except one is false, and you have to identify which one is false. Or it could be the opposite. He may give you 4 statements. All of them are false except one is true, and you have to identify which one is true. This is so important, my dear students, the reference. What does that mean? You will have something like pronouns or underlined pronoun, and you have to find what does this underlined pronoun refer to. Number 5, locating explicit information. Maybe he will ask you about the text or information about the text. You have to identify the keyword of this question, and you have to identify which paragraph was talking about these keywords in the question. This is so important, my dear students. How can you identify the writer's purpose? To identify the purpose, you have to identify the reason why the writer wrote this passage or text, or what is the moral lesson behind the text. Try to ask these questions to find the purpose or the goal. Does the writer want to inform us about something or maybe he gives information about it? Does the writer want to persuade us about something, to buy it or to use it? Does the writer want to describe something like place, thing, or person? Does the writer want to give some entertainment? So you have to look at the passage if it talked about story. And what is the moral of that story? Now let's move to the second type of questions in reading comprehension, the productive questions. How do you identify WH questions? Well, if you have questions like these questions, why are the Japanese not interested in sheep meat? Or maybe how do people feel about what others eat? So to identify the answer, you have to identify the keywords of this question. For example, let's together identify the keywords of this question: Japanese and cheap. Try to find these words in the text and try to find which paragraph was talking about them and try to conclude the answer, then choose your answer. Or maybe if you don't have enough keywords in the question, you can identify the verb like this. We have verb like feel. People feel what? You have to find the paragraph which was talking about this verb here. Remember, before you read, pay attention to transition words, and when you come across a difficult word, try to guess its meaning. Now it's time for reading, my dear students. Let's read the text and answer the following questions together. Isn't it amazing how much time we spend speaking about food? What did you have for lunch? Have you ever eaten? And so on yet. When you travel from one country to another, you find that people have quite different feelings about food. People often feel that what they eat is normal, and that what other people eat is strange or silly. So this is the paragraph number 1, and it's talking about the different things between the countries. And we have underlined normal here, underlined word about normal, okay? Maybe he will ask you about the opposite of this word, or maybe he will ask you about the meaning of this word. Let's move to the second paragraph. By the way, the first paragraph it was talking about the different feelings about food, okay? In most parts of Asia, for example, no meal is complete without rice. In England, people eat potatoes every day. In the Middle East, bread is the main part of every meal. Eating, like so many things we do, became a habit that is difficult to change. The Americans like to drink a lot of orange juice and coffee. The English drink tea 4 or 5 times a day. The Arabs drink milk and make cheese products from it. And we have underlined pronoun here. And maybe he will ask you, what does this underlined pronoun refer to? Let's move to the number 3. The sort of meat people like to eat also differs from one country to another. Horse meat is thought to be delicious in France. In Hong Kong, some people enjoy eating snakes. New Zealanders eat sheep, but they never eat goat meat. The Japanese do not like to eat sheep meat because of its smell, but they enjoy eating raw fish. Now let's move to the last paragraph here. Although people everywhere spend hours talking about eating, they only enjoy eating what they have always been eating. There is very little they can do to change their eating habits. Now let's move to the questions. As I said before, he started with this question. Choose the correct answer from A, B, C, and D, and try to identify the main idea of the third paragraph. What do you think the third paragraph is talking about? To find or to identify the main idea of the third paragraph, so you have to go back to the third paragraph and try to guess the main idea. This is the third paragraph. The sort of meat people like to eat also differs from one country to another. Horse meat is thought to be delicious in France. In Hong Kong, some people enjoy eating snakes. New Zealanders eat sheep, but they never eat goat meat. The Japanese do not like to eat sheep meat because of its smell, but they enjoy eating raw fish. So this is the paragraph number 3. Always the paragraph number 3 or the third paragraph is talking about meat, the kinds of meat. So what do you think is the main idea of this paragraph? Let's go back to the question. Do you think is talking about eating unhealthy food is a bad habit? Or B, quality eating habits have changed? B or C, people eat different kinds of meat? Or D, eating meat is important for health? So what do you think, my dear student, is the right answer, or what is the main idea of the paragraph number 3? That's right. People eat different kinds of meat. Now it's time for number 2. The underlined word normal in the paragraph or the first paragraph means, what do you think the meaning or what does normal mean here? Do you think A, usual? Do you think B, creative? Do you think C, personal? Or do you think D, expensive? And the right answer is usual. Now it's time for number 3, the underlined pronoun it in the second paragraph refers to. What do you think the underlined it refers to here? Do you think it refers to tea or milk or maybe coffee or orange juice? To identify the answer, let's go back to the paragraph which consists the underlined pronoun it here. Look at here, my dear students. This is the underlined it. So to find the answer, you have to read from this point. The Arabs drink milk and make cheese products from it. So the first option is here. We can say what I think you found the answer. Let's go back to the question. Now, my dear students, can you answer now? Yes, that's right. It refers to milk. Number 4, in most Asian countries, people always. Now it's time for ask some information about that topic itself. So he wants to know, in most Asian countries, people always what? Have rice in their meals? Or maybe B, eat horse meat and drink milk? Or maybe C, eat goat meat 5 times a day? Or maybe D, drink a lot of orange juice and coffee. So what do you think the Asian countries do here? That's right, have rice in their meals. When you go back to the text and read here, in most parts of Asia, for example, no meal is complete without rice. So this is the right answer. Now it's time for number 5. The purpose of the writer in the passage is to what? To compare between coffee and tea, describe how milk products are made, encourage us to travel to New Zealand, or inform us about people's attitude to food. What do you think the writer's purpose in this text? That's right. Inform us about people's attitude to food. Now let's move to the second type questions in reading comprehension. Why are the Japanese, it is a productive question, okay? Why are the Japanese not interested in sheep meat? As I said before, to identify the answer, you have to identify the keywords of this question. What are the keywords here? Look at here. We have Japanese and we have sheep. So which paragraph was talking about Japanese and sheep? Let's go back to the paragraph, to the text. Find the keywords Japanese and sheep here. Where are they? That's right. Here, the Japanese do not like to eat sheep meat. Why? Why? Because of its smell. So this is the answer, because of its smell. So let's go back to the question. He started with why, and if you have question started with why, you have to answer by because. So because what? Because it's of its smell. Let's move to the question number 7. How do people feel about what others eat? Which paragraph was talking about this? Identify the keywords. If you don't have keywords, identify the verb here. Let's see the verb feel. Which paragraph was talking about feeling of people? Try to find it, my dear student. Check paragraph number 1, for example. Do you find it? Great, that's right. People often feel that what they eat is normal, and this is the answer, and that what other people eat is strange or silly. So this is the answer. You have to write, it's better to write all this sentences here, all these sentences in the question to answer the question. People often feel that what they eat is normal and that what other people eat is strange or silly. I hope you get all the benefits that you need in this episode. Now you can extract relevant information after reading a text, and we talked about multiple choice questions and productive questions here. Thank you for watching. See you next time. Goodbye.